Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Boxiest, and today we're going to continue the What If series. What if events had gone differently? And in this What If, we're going to change the history of Cobra Kai. What if Tory's mom never died during the events of Cobra Kai Season 6? So in this timeline, Tory's mom wouldn't pass away, and the fights to determine the captains would still happen. Robbie would still fight Miguel, and that fight would stay the same. Robbie would still be balanced, and he would still defeat Miguel, so Robbie would still be the boys' captain. Tory would still fight Sam, and they would both be using a combination of offense and defense, and they would be evenly matched. But in this timeline, Sam would get the upper hand, and she would defeat Tory. So in this timeline, Sam would be the girls' captain. Those events would continue, so Miyagi would go to the Saikai Taikai, and Hawk would stay behind. And at the Saikai Taikai, they would be surprised to see Cobra Kai increase there. Miyagi and Cobra Kai would still be at the mixer, and Quan would still want to challenge Robbie. But in this timeline, Tory would get Robbie to back off from his challenge. She would tell him it wasn't worth it. Those events would carry on. The first challenge would still happen. Miyagi would want to protect Robbie and Sam, and they would do protect the egg. Quan would still want to go after the Miyagi's, but in this timeline, Miguel would fight him off. Miyagi would be on defense, and only Devin and Dimitri would go down, and Cobra Kai's girl captain would go down. So it would be Miyagi versus the Iron Dragons, and the rest of the Iron Dragons would still leave, so it would only be Axel and Zara. Robbie and Miguel would team up against Axel, and Sam and Tory would team up against Zara. Miguel and Robbie would be using a combination of offense and defense, and Axel would try to knock him down. Sam and Tory would try to knock down Zara, but Zara would be able to fight them both off, and Zara would take down Sam, so Miyagi would lose. The Saikai Taikai would continue. Miyagi would still have to knock the other dojo off the platform. Devin would still be knocked within 10 seconds, but in this timeline, Robbie would be focused, and he wouldn't be knocked off, so Miyagi would be higher in the leaderboard. And in the main stage, Miyagi would be the ones to fight Polar Slate. Robbie and Sam would still start off. Sam and Robbie would be doing the circle technique, and they would manage to knock down some of their opponents. But eventually Sam would be knocked down, so Devin would join Robbie. Robbie and Devin would continue to fight, and Devin would still sacrifice herself to save Robbie. Tory would go on the platform, and they would continue taking down their opponents. And at this point, Polar Slate would be down to its last member, and they would manage to knock him down, so Miyagi would win. And much like in the original timeline, Carmen would still be rushed to the hospital, and Johnny and Miguel would have to leave, so Johnny would call for Hawk to take Miguel's place, so Hawk would make his way to Barcelona. The Miyagi students would still go explore Barcelona, and they would still be at the tapas bar. This is when the Cobra Kais would show up, and Sam would still go outside to get some air. Quan would still want to mess with Robbie, so Quan and Robbie would start to have a rivalry, but the Miyagi's wouldn't want any trouble, so they would still want to leave. In this timeline, Zara and Tory wouldn't have that big of a rivalry. Sam would still be walking down the beach, and she would still run into Axel, and the interaction between Sam and Axel would stay the same. Eventually, Miguel and Johnny would come back to Barcelona, and with Miguel back, Devin would choose to step down, so Hawk would take her place in this timeline. The team matches would continue. Miyagi would still fight Furia de Pantera. Dimitri would still start off, but in this timeline, Dimitri and Hawk wouldn't be arguing, so Dimitri would tag in Hawk, Hawk and Diego would fight, and Hawk would manage to land a point on Diego. Diego would tag in Maria, and Hawk would tag in Sam. Sam and Maria would continue to fight, and much like in the original timeline, Sam would land a point on Maria. The score would be 2-0. Sam would tag in Tory. Tory would continue the fight, and she would land the final point. And in this timeline, Miyagi would beat Furia de Pantera, and during the next team match, Miyagi would fight Redentores, and Miguel would still start off. He would use a combination of offense and defense, and he would land his first point. Miguel would tag in Hawk. Hawk would continue the fight, and he would land the second point, and he would tag in Robbie, and Robbie would manage to land the final point, and they would still advance in their matches. Cobra Kai would still fight Tiger Strike, but in this timeline, Cobra Kai would be focused. The fight would continue, and Quan would land the final point. So in this timeline, Cobra Kai would beat Tiger Strike, and both Cobra Kai and Miyagi would make it to the semifinals. So Miyagi and Cobra Kai wouldn't face off. The Saikai Taikai would continue. Tiger Strike would still be eliminated for cheating during the tournament, so Furia de Pantera would take their place. The semifinals would begin. Quan and Diego would still fight, but Quan would still defeat him. Zara and Maria would fight, but Zara would still defeat Maria. Axel would still fight Robbie in the semifinals, and that fight would stay the same. Axel would still knock Robbie back, and Quan would still hit Robbie. Miguel would still be mad, and he would go confront Quan, but Axel would knock Miguel back. So Miguel and Axel would want to fight. Gunther would see that the Seikai Taika was getting out of hand, and he would want everyone off the mats. But this is when Sensei Ivanov would knock Gunther out, and the brawl would still happen. Miguel would be angry, and he would fight Axel, but Axel would be able to knock Miguel back. Miyagi would be fighting defensively, and Tory would want to help Robbie fight Quan. Miguel would try using his defense, but Axel would get through it. The brawl would continue, and the season was still in the same way. Quan would still want to stab Axel, but Axel would sweep Quan's leg, and Quan would still land on the knife, so Quan would still be stabbed in this timeline, and everyone would be shocked. And that is where I'm gonna end this what if. Thank you guys for watching. What do you guys think would have happened if Tory's mom never died during the events of Cobra Kai Season 6? Let me know in the comments below. YouTube lets me know that the majority of you are not subscribed, so if you guys could subscribe, that would be much appreciated. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. And I'll see you guys next time.